All right, we have a couple of more examples to do. Okay, let us go into our next example right here. Our next example right here, we're going to learn about the sum if function. Okay, I don't know if you guys knew about this, but the sum function that we already know and the if function got married. Yes, they got married and they got a baby. They had a baby and they call them sum if. No, I'm just kidding. So the sum if function, my friends, it is exactly the combination of what the function name sounds. The sum function will sum something if a criteria is met. The sum if function has three arguments. And we're going to use the sum if function to find out or to display the totals for these vehicles right here. This is our scenario. We purchased some new and gently used or certified used cars that we're going to use at the airport or some company, and we're going to use them for courtesy cars or shuttles. And what we want to do right here, we want to know this is the total of money that we spend for each of the vehicles. These are the base models. And we're going to know how much money we spend for cars that are vehicles that are coupes, vehicles that are sedans, and vehicles that are vans. We also want to know how much money we spend for new vehicles and used vehicles on a separate criteria. Okay, so what I'm going to do, my friends, I'm going to use the sum if function for this. Yes, I can turn this into a table or maybe do some subtotaling and it will give me the subtotals, and that's very nice. But what I like to do right now is I like to use the if function to find this out, to total this number, and don't have to mess with my data table right here. Okay, for the total coupe vehicles, this is what I'm going to do, my friends. This is how the sum if function works. I'm going to do equals sum if. Very nice. My first argument is going to be the range that Excel is going to read. Remember, I want to know the type of the vehicle right here. So I'm going to select. I can select this range if I want to, but then if I do and I am planning on populating this formula down, I will have to lock this range. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm just going to select the column. This is so much easier. And what I like about functions in Excel is that they're very smart. They're going to locate right here the continuing range of data on this column. They are going to ignore the blank cells. They're also going to ignore right here the header right here that says type. So it's much easier, especially if you have a very long report. Okay, so there you go. Sum if, that's my range, comma. My criteria, for my criteria, I can do two different things, my friends. I can put my criteria right here inside of double quotations, comma. This is one way to do it. This is the way that I'm going to leave it, but this is the one way I can do it. Or I can also select this cell from this table and it will also work. Don't forget to lock this if you're planning on populating down this, or maybe not, because notice if I populate this down, if I do sedan and van, it'll also do this. Okay, but this may not be your case. I can also just select any of these right here cells in here and it will not also matter. It will not matter. Okay, very nice. Right now I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna organize this the easiest way, or not the easiest way, but the most logical way, so that you guys can understand, my lesson, comma. Okay, now my sum range is gonna be the range that Excel is gonna sum, and it's gonna be right here, column E. I'm gonna close my parentheses, and now here's my function right here. So if you notice, my friends, the sum if function, like most functions in Excel, they work from top to bottom, left to right. So the sum function is going to go down right here on column B, and when it finds the coupe word, like so, it's going to run to the right, and then it's going to stop right here on this column where I have my values, and it's going to add all the values. Every time it finds the word coupe, it's going to run to the right and add the values that are here. I'm going to go ahead and take this for a test drive. Enter. Very nice. Notice I spend this much money on cars that are coupes. Looks like we only buy like 2 or 3 cars. Very nice. Let us do this one more time, my friends. Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the ones for sedan, and then we're gonna do one for right here for total new, and I will let you guys finish the rest of the exercise or the rest of this demonstration. For the grand total, no need to use the sum if. You can use the regular sum and sum all this, or you can just right here sum these two, or you can sum these three. Okay. So make sure that you are looking at this report on its entirely and get your totals accordingly. Okay, pay a lot of attention to this. Okay, let us go ahead and do sedans right here for the sedan cars. I'm going to do sum if my range is going to be this, comma, my criteria is going to be sedan, and comma, that's my second argument, and my range is going to be this. Very nice. I'm going to close my parentheses, and I'm going to go ahead and take this for the test drive. I'm going to press enter. Boom, excellent. So that's how much money I spend on vehicles that are sedan. I'm going to now go ahead and do the ones for the new vehicles. I'm going to do equals sum if my range is going to be, whoops, now I need to look for that column where I have that criteria new and used. So now it's going to be this right here, my range, comma. My second argument of the three is going to be my criteria. It's going to be the word new. By the way, these functions in Excel, well, most of the functions in Excel, but the sum if function, it's not case sensitive. So you can use the word new, use, coupe, sedan, van with uppercase or lowercase, or you can capitalize it and it's going to work still. I'm gonna go ahead and press comma right here and go ahead and now select my sum range, which is this. Close my parentheses and now press enter. Boom, there you go. This is how much money I spent on all new cars, whether they were coupes, sedans, or vans. Very nice, my friends. Okay, let us go into our next exercise right here. It looks like it's the last one. We actually learned some of these on a past lesson in Excel. We have right here, these are some statistical functions. These functions are for statistics. On this exercise, we're going to learn about the count, count A, and count if function. Okay, so here is our scenario, my friends. I put a little cheating note right here. We have 23 trainees that we send for their training, for their 2 weeks training. Okay, and we need to know some statistics. We need to know how many trainees did we send for training. Now remember, we're not supposed to know that we sent 23. So, okay, and then we need to know how many trainees attend week number 1, how many trainees pass the week number 1. Okay, this again, on this 2 weeks training program, the trainees have to pass both of the weeks in order for them to be certified and to be able to go back to work. Okay, and if they flunk one of the weeks, or worse yet both, then they're gonna have to go see their manager. But right now we only want to know numbers. Okay, so now I'm gonna do so for this, my friends, we're gonna use the count function, count A, and count if. So the count function in general will count, not sum. It'll count the number of cells that has data. Okay, in this case right here, it count data that is mostly general, on general format. So for example, if I ask Excel to count this, it'll give me as a result 5, because I'm counting. It's going to count right here 5 cells. If I tell Excel to count this right here, these cells right here, it's not going to give me the sum of these values. It's going to give me as a result the number 4, because it counted 4 cells that has or that contain data. For example, right here, it'll count actually 4, even though I'm selecting 5, because only 4 cells have data in here. Okay, for the count A function, count A stands for alpha. So the count A function will count all the functions that have alpha or alphabet or letters as a data inside of their cells. And then the last but not least, the count if function. The count if function will count cells in Excel that meet certain criteria, like certain words or certain values. Okay, so let us go ahead and take this take these functions for a test drive. For example, right here, I need to count the number of trainees. Now I need to know, my friends, what all these trainees have in common. Okay, well, all these trainees, what they have in common, they all have names and last names. Very nice. So what I'm going to do, pretending that this was a very long report, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to use the function count count alpha. Okay, because it's going to count these first names or last names, whichever criteria I want to use. I'm going to go by the first names because everyone has a first name. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do right here, I'm going to, on my function right here, I'm going to count the names right there. I'm going to do equals, and I'm going to do count A right there. The count A, these count functions only have, well, with the exception of the count E, the count function and count A only have one argument, and is the range where you want Excel to perform this counting. So I'm going to select column A. Very nice. I can also select this range if it makes it easier for you. Select the first cell in here and then do Control Shift down arrow key, and that will do it if you want. But I'm going to pretend that this is a very, very long report and I have like hundreds if not thousands of employees here. So I'm going to go ahead and select the whole column. I'm going to go ahead and close my parentheses right here. Okay, very nice. And this is it. This is all I need for my count A function. I'm going to go ahead and press enter. Whoops, wait a minute. I have 25 people and I was told that we only send 23. There's something wrong in here. What do you guys think this is? Oh, I see. It's counting this header right here, and it's counting this header right here, this title and this header. So with this being said, my friends, we can tell that Excel is smart enough to count alpha, but it's not smart enough to know whether the alpha data is a name, a header, or a title. So I know that Excel is counting all this right here, but I know it's also counting this extra title right here as an alpha and counting this header as an extra too. So what I'm going to do right here at the end, this is not part of the count A function, but I'm going to do a little bit of cheating. Knowing that Excel or the count A function is counting two extra cells, I'm right here at the end of my count A. After the count A, I'm going to put -2 right here, and because I know it's counting two extra alpha cells, and I'm going to press enter. Boom, very nice. Now I have my 23 trainees that indeed I'm not supposed to be know, but I sent for training. Very nice. Now next, trainees attending week number 1. So right here on week number 1, so what do all the trainees who attend week number 1 have in common? Yes, they all have a score. They all also took a test. Whether they pass or not, they all have a score. So these values right here, these are numerical values. So for this, I can just use that regular count function. So what I'm going to do right here, I'm going to do equals count, and I'm going to select right here column C. Hey, wait a minute, Ruben is going to count this title and this header again. Well, not really, because this information right here is actually only belongs to cell 1A, and besides it's going to ignore this alpha because count only count cells that has numerical values. Hey, Ruben is also going to count this header. No, it's not. It's going to also ignore it, but has a 1 in there. Well, yes, it has a 1 in there indeed, but the minute you have any alpha characters surrounding these numerical values, Excel will automatically look at it as alpha. So Excel is also, the count function is also going to ignore this header right here. So all I'm just going to do, count right here, 1 argument, close parentheses. I don't need to minus anything, and I'm going to go ahead and press enter. And boom, there you go. 21 trainees attend week number 1. It looks like 2 of them changed their mind or didn't show up for the test. Either one of the two. Now, next, uh, number of trainees or how many trainees were passed week number 1. So how many did they pass their test? So what do all the trainees who pass their first week test have in common? They have a yes. Very good. All right, so for this one can say, oh, we could use alpha again. Well, count A, well, not necessarily, because what if I have the word yes, no, cancel, drop, like we have those answers in other exercises, in other lessons? Well, it's going to count those too. So it needs to be at a specific criteria. So for this statistic right here, for this statement, we're going to use the count if function. Okay, so let us go ahead and do the count if function. The count if function has 2 arguments, my friends, instead of just 1. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and this is equals count if. There you go. Notice that we also have a count blank function there. I don't know if you notice it. The count blank function would do exactly what the name says. It'll count all the cells that are blank. Okay, so count if the range is going to be this. Very nice. Comma, the criteria inside of double quotations is going to be the word yes. Close my parentheses. Of course, I can always select or point to my criteria in a different ways, like we did it with the sum if function. But this is all I'm going to do for right now. This is the more logical way to explain it and to understand it. And I'm going to go ahead and take my count if function for a ride, for a test drive. Boom, it looks like 19 students and pass their first week training test. Very nice. So we have right here the total of 23 students. We send them for training. 21 show up and only 19 pass their test. I'm going to let you guys finish on your own. Okay, these trainees attending week 2 and certified trainees, which we're going to use again, count A. It looks like we're going to do, I'm sorry, it looks like for attending week 2, we're going to use count if, and count if again. Okay, and my friends, let me see, do I have any more? Yes, I have a couple of more lessons that I need to go over for you. Okay, so we're gonna continue this here in a minute. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and stop right here because I think I already give you guys enough time, and I will see you in our next video. Thank you very much and have a great day. Bye bye.